This year, 11 AD, the Roman army under Tiberius crosses the Rhine. Massive floods strike China, and Wang Mang continues his buildup of troops along the northern border to threaten the Xiongnu. Welcome to the Yearly Histories, where we will highlight the major events that take place in the Common Era, year by year. Last year, we saw Tiberius securing the Rhine River, a rebellion kicking off headed by the Parthian client king of Atropatene, Artabanus, and Wang Mang continuing his reforms at all levels of the Xin dynasty. In the Roman Empire, the imperial army finally makes its return to Germania after the disastrous battle of the Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD against the local Germanic tribes led by the former Roman ally Arminius. Tiberius was sent by Emperor Augustus to immediately respond to the situation and stabilize the area. This year, in the spring, Tiberius makes his move and crosses the Rhine. Quote, Tiberius felt sufficiently confident to venture rather tentatively across the Rhine, using the same scorched earth tactics he had employed in putting down the Illyrian revolt, but he never advanced very far toward the Weser. It was painfully clear to any experienced observer that the Roman army was far too short of trained soldiers to take any unnecessary risks. Besides, Tiberius had no intention of acting rashly and opening himself up to unflattering comparisons with the late Quintilius Varus. Unquote. Arminius, with his army, remains behind the east bank of the Rhine and refrains from confronting Tiberius. This results in a stalemate taking place in southern Germania. In the northern and eastern parts, in which the Romans could not reach, the Germanic tribes begin to migrate into vacant territory and establish themselves more solidly. In Rome itself, an edict is issued affecting an empire-wide ban on divinatory practices, especially astrology. The edict requires any consultation between a customer and a practitioner to be conducted with at least one third-party witness present, and bans inquiry into anyone's death. Moving east to the Parthian Empire and its client kingdoms, the clashes between King Vonones I and the rebellious king Artabanus of Media Atropatene continue. Although the fighting is ongoing, it seems things may be coming to a head very soon. In China, a severe natural disaster occurs. The Yellow River has been the most important center of civilization for all major dynasties in ancient China. This famous river is known by the Chinese for its tendency to overflow and flood the surrounding Great Plain, where most of the populated settlements in the Xin dynasty can be found. Quote, in the year 11 CE, the surging river again breached the dikes and unleashed another new arm along the northern edge of the Shandong Peninsula. Thousands of people drowned in the ensuing deluge, and millions more were rendered homeless and forced to flee the devastated provinces. Unquote. This event begins an enormous mass migration of Chinese inhabitants from the densely populated northern regions around the Yellow River to the more sparsely populated southern lands. Naturally, after a catastrophe of this scale, a massive famine strikes the Chinese people, made worse by large locust swarms and droughts in other parts of the empire. Wang Mang is powerless to respond to this devastation and following disorder. A very important philosophical concept from China that we have not mentioned yet in this series is the mandate of heaven. Starting in the Zhou dynasty just under 1,000 years ago in China, this mandate has asserted that the ruler or emperor's legitimacy is granted by a divine source. This mandate justifies the emperor's authority, stating that he is the son of heaven and must govern justly and wisely. If the ruler fails to fulfill these duties, the mandate can be withdrawn, leading to the ruler's overthrow and replacement by a more virtuous leader. A situation such as this seems prime for Wang Mang's mandate of heaven to begin to dwindle. Checking in on the status of Wang Mang's reforms, he decides to reverse another one. In 9 AD, he prohibited the purchase and sale of private slaves, but this year, he walks back that decision. The aristocracy of China is vehemently against their source of cheap labor drying up. Wang Mang decides to balance out the situation by instituting a heavy tax on slave owners. Returning to the military front, we mentioned last year how Wang Mang declared war on the Xiongnu tribes in the north and ordered the conscription and mobilization of 300,000 troops to the northern border regions. This year, as the army amasses, it takes a serious toll on the resources of the area. Although Wang Mang spread the force into 12 locations along the northern border, the locals are still experiencing significant hardships and draining of their resources. Wang Mang has a plan to divide and conquer the Xiongnu Confederacy. Shan Yu is a title used by the leaders of the Xiongnu and other nomadic tribes in the area, the current one being a man named Wu Zhu Liu. His younger half-brother, Xian, subscribes more to the pro-China persuasion, so Wang Mang decides to prop him up with financial aid, and he is declared to be the counter Shan Yu. This causes the supporters of his half-brother to become angry, and Xian is forced to surrender to him. Xian finds a way to escape, and he flees to Qin Dynasty territory. We will leave this year, 11 AD, with Tiberius crossing the Rhine River at the head of a Roman army, and the Yellow River flooding in China, devastating the population. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to be notified when the next iteration of the yearly histories will be released. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next year in 12 AD to continue the fascinating stories of the world of antiquity and cover its major events